one man saying that is fine. If that's your opinion and you're not in it, that's fine. But there is an entire market of millions and millions of people that agree that it is a store of value. So, you can think one thing, but there's also a market, and markets tend to become efficient over time.
We do know that you will always get paid in HEX on a daily basis. And that is truly the miracle that we call HEX, because it is trustless interest, trustless yield. Nothing will stop that contract from running.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Creed of Crypto podcast. I am Boi Crypto, and I have here with me, as always, my friend and co-host Crypto Ewok. We have got a terrific show for you tonight as we have the continuation of the PulseChain launch. We have lots to get to because there's been many developments with PulseChain, of course, and the whole Richard Heart ecosystem over the course of the last week. The bridge has been officially cleared here for a few days, and we're just operating as normal. And PulseChain is one of the very top blockchains in all the land. And just over, it's not even been 2 weeks. So 12 days into this thing. So welcome in, everybody. Just real quick, if you are here, if you enjoy the show, if you've seen us before, hit up the like button, leave us some comments, leave us some questions. We'd love to engage with you guys throughout the course of the episode. And as you can see in the thumbnail, we are going to get into, Ewok and I talked about this earlier today. Neither of us are really fans of like giving specific price calls, more so like ranges. But I think it's important to have like realistic, rational ideas about what these tokens could do in this ecosystem. And it really does show how great of an opportunity we're probably looking at right now. But before we get into that, Ewok, you're still looking good with the layered down beard. You probably weigh about, 5-10 pounds less. But how's the new beard? Yeah, how's it been feeling? And how are you feeling about PulseChain?
Oh, man, it's exciting. I haven't been this excited about crypto in a long time. Screw the beard. Who cares? It's facial hair. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, the things that are going on and happening right now, man, it's exciting. A lot of good stuff, a lot of things to watch. I'm just kind of enjoy sitting back, watching the liquidity and watching the pairs and the percentages, the APRs on the providing liquidity for the incentive token. Watching that thing's going crazy up and down too, pretty volatile. So yeah, it's been fun, man. It's been a really exciting week.
It's been amazing. And I think, anybody watching this stream that is used to watching us is maybe used to watching other HEX type, centric, PulseChain centric streaming channels and stuff like that. I'm sure shares the same experience where, for the last 2 weeks almost, it has just been constant. I just said to you off air, we're in this, our own silo, and it's so weird. And not to imply that it's a small silo. Obviously the blockchain is freaking blowing up, but just it's funny to be like on crypto Twitter some days, which, largely is shit, but, going up and down it and just seeing like some trader, and we will mention real quick, the Bitcoin at the moment is trading just over the non-news of the day, 26K, 26.3K. ETH holding steady at 1800, just been strong like it always has been, but we'll get to the prices here in a minute. But you'll just see some trader talking about like, hey, I don't know who needs to hear this, but Bitcoin's destined for 20K again, or, 23K is in the cards. And I'm just like, dude, I haven't even thought about Bitcoin, like we're not even there. And it's just so, it makes you feel, doesn't it make you feel like even more fortunate when you see that stuff? Cause it's like, these guys are just out here trading freaking Bitcoin.
Yep. It's amazing that, we have so much exciting stuff that and I see people shouting from the rooftops on Twitter, and by this time we're probably, with all the gatekeeping that had happened before, most of the HEX community got blocked by a lot of those people, and you know what, it's their loss now. It kind of sucks for them, but unfortunately, I've blocked a lot of people that I didn't want to hear from or anything like that, and they've probably done the same. So it kind of sucks to be them.
Well, it's going to suck more over the course of this cycle, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And I maybe it is best to just start the show off with this point of PulseChain. So I think it is because it's already kind of apt to where we're at right now. Real quick before I do, we will just say we already mentioned the Bitcoin and ETH price. Just doing a rundown of the prices, and we'll just go ahead and since we always talk about the HEX price at the beginning, we'll go ahead and just throw in Pulse and PulseX as well. But HEX on Ethereum has just been, I mean, we're retesting, and maybe who knows? I haven't been watching every single second, but it may have already wicked below the bear market lows. I don't know. Well, let me actually go to a live price. Coin Paprika had it at like 1.9 cents, but yeah, it looks like
we wicked down there to 171.
I totally believe it. Yeah,
yep.
I figured it's been flirting with it. Yeah,
which is right there at the other low that we had back in December. Yeah.
Yeah, we're right there, and I'm not saying that I know this is going to happen or guaranteed, but it would make total sense if that was pretty damn strong support. I mean, that you think like that's where we're going to end. And the interesting thing about this, and this is going to be there's so much freaking game theory in this system right now, and it's so entertaining, like we're saying. But we have EHEX right now at like 1.88 cents. PHEX has been outdoing EHEX rather healthily for the last week or so. I mean, it's been the one, pumping a little bit harder at the moment. And the thing that's been a challenge, man, I'm going in so many directions here, but like the thing that's been a challenge is like looking at Ethereum HEX, seeing where it is, because a lot of people were onboarding into Pulse and I think this was the total right call when the bridge was clogged for sure. They were buying EHEX at these, already a great buy. Like you're thinking you're probably getting a 50 to 100x or whatever on the price you're buying, and then bridging it over to buy what they wanted, PulseX, whatever it may be, which is another great buy. So, that's been a great strategy. But some of the fear, and it was for me early on, especially when there was a bigger spread, is that EHEX on PulseChain price, that transition, and it still is now, it's a good 2/10 of a cent below the actual EHEX price. So we'll just go there because we happen to started talking about it, Ewok. But what do you think about the best strategy is for bridging over right now as opposed to when the bridge was clogged? And what do you make of that EHEX, kind of, it's not really like slippage, I guess, but it's, the loss of some of your EHEX value when you bridge it over to Pulse right now, if you are using that to bridge?
Well, you're still getting your value. When you bridge it over, you're still getting the value of what it is on the PulseChain side. You're not getting equivalent HEX. So like if you would swap it to HEX, you're going to lose value. But for the other coins, you're still getting that same value. Just like if you move DAI over, you're still getting $1.
Right.
So, you're not, the only time you really lose out is if you're trying to accumulate HEX on PulseChain. So in order to do that, the best bet is to do DAI, buy DAI on Ethereum, transfer that over the bridge, and then purchase your HEX on PulseChain. So you don't, lose that little bit of slippage. But as for the other stuff, you can transfer into Pulse or PulseX or Incentive or whatever it may be, and you'll still get the same value.
Right. Yeah, and that makes sense. And I guess where I was leading that to is like, I don't know that there really is much value. I totally got the game theory of buying EHEX and bridging it over again during the clogged bridge. But now, yeah, to me, I mean, we have so much liquidity with DAI, and there's a lot of support for DAI already on PulseX that, yeah, to me, it's just like buy your DAI on whatever, however you get onboarded, send that to your wallet and bridge that over to PulseChain. So
exactly.
Yeah. And it's just so great to have the bridge totally open like that. I mean, we're seeing I was mentioning the prices of the other tokens. So, I mean, PulseX right now, we were just talking about it off the air. It's starting to tank a bit again. It was it's funny because how quick these things move, because in the notes today, we were going to talk about how great PulseX was performing. And it was, this isn't, fudding or anything.
No.
But just how, we're still so early, and I think we're all just reacting to every little thing that happens, which is fine. Everybody's excited, but we all expected, many people, I should say, expected a big sell-off of PulseX to get into PulseChain. Because we all know
we're seeing it now. I mean, that's what a lot of this is the first dip that we're actually seeing. A little bit of sell-off. People got a 2x or so, and they were content with getting rid of some of their stuff.
Right.
So fine, get out. We'll see you when you buy in higher, because we all know how this story goes. And for the early weak lettuce hand soy boys that want to get out early at a 2x, we've seen it before. It's going to go up, and then they're going to buy in, and they're going to chase it, and you probably will never see some of these lows again. It could dip even further. So they, maybe if they do decide to buy back in, if they think they're front running the dip, maybe to buy back in, that's also a possibility. But one big whale that comes in, we saw that there was how much moved in, $157 million now that has come over the bridge. One big whale could just send this price up and never come back to that price again. So, you're better off not playing those silly games, trying to think you're going to front run a dip and just miss it. You end up buying back higher and getting less coins than you had before. So,
yeah, that is definitely a good point. I was just checking right now to see, looking at the, here we go, EHEX price and PHEX price. So yeah, PHEX is a good 14-15% above the price of EHEX right now. We got PHEX at about 2.1 cents, EHEX, as we mentioned, at like just below 1.9. And we'll go to PulseX since we were just talking about it. So yeah, it just lost that 4 zeros and an 8 number. So it's down. This is kind of retesting where it just was, I believe, at one point yesterday, in this point quad 0.7 range. So that's a good
7.5. 7.5 was the low yesterday. The 4 zeros,
right.
7.5 ish right in there was about as low as it went.
Yeah. So we're good. I mean, obviously that'd be like 20% off of the SAC price basically right now. So So and for anybody that is questioning that, because I think that's a really good thing to know. I would want to know that, because you're thinking about, it's a really good feeling, like right now with PulseX, to be like, holy shit, I can buy it right now for below what all these people sacked for a year and a half or whatever.
Just about. Yep. I mean, so right here, I don't know what this, it says 0.798x SAC. So it's calculating for some reason that we're still above. I think there's a zero missing or something like that, maybe.
They have the 4 zeros. That is the right price. I'm not sure what they mean by that underneath it, but SAC price would definitely be 0001. So it's definitely below SAC. So I'm not sure. Could they maybe mean something from PulseX's low, because its actual price low was lower than this? It was down 92% or something.
I'm not sure about that. I think that's off. I mean, if you're starting at 0.0001, you would want we're back up to 8 again. You would want you would want this to say, negative for the SAC value of whatever it is. So I don't know.
Probably a bug of some sort, or they just have the pulling in the data wrong. I don't know, but it definitely, maybe they're just, what it might be is maybe they just only have it updated for like how over the SAC rate it is, and aren't planning for if it's under, and maybe it's just defaulting to that. Who knows? But
I'm not sure.
But it is, I mean, clearly though, we think a great buy right now. You barely had that opportunity with actual Pulse. It wasn't below there for that long, but it is retraced, and it's now still about a 2x over the SAC rate. It is at 3 zeros and a 1.9. So it's still chugging right along. And let's talk about this PulseX thing, I guess. We have show notes, obviously, but we're just kind of ebbing and flowing and getting right into the good stuff here. So with PulseX. So it came out of the gate a little bit slow, but then last week spent most of the week just absolutely dominating. It was up like 50-60% for a few days in a row. And it was, again, we're all reacting to everything so quickly. So it started to be like, shit, maybe we were wrong about this huge PulseX sell-off. That 3 times the people have PulseX that have Pulse and blah, blah, blah. Well, now everything's selling off right now. Who am I kidding? But still,
Right.
we are seeing PulseX, again, dive down below that SAC rate. So yeah, what do you make of it? I mean, you did just say you think we're seeing it right now. What do you make of this whole ecosystem? Is it what you expected so far in terms of the price action? And what do you think, we'll go with PulseX right now, we see in the next few weeks as far as price? Do you think we see a continuation of what looks like this longer term sell-off as it launches?
Well, no, I think it's going to run up again. I think there's going to be more. So what happens is, so as you can see right here, we've burned 59 billion of these PulseX coins already.
Mm-hmm.
So as the volume of the chain slows down, there's less buy and burn. And you're going to see ebb and flow as the volumes kind of change, I think. And the cycles of people taking profits as well. I think we're going to get down, we're probably going to test it, and then it's going to rocket up a little bit higher, and then it's going to pull back again. We're going to see a lot of up and down, and back and forth with it for a little while. It's still early. It's not even a month old. We haven't really found that floor yet. So yeah, I mean, it could go considerably lower pretty quickly. I do, however, think it will get bought up as well, just as fast as it gets down there. I think it'll get bought up, and we may never see, that will be the bottom. Kind of just the way it happened with Hex, is when it hit that 0.00005655, that was the bottom. It never went back. So,
Right.
I think you're going to see something similar to that now, because there is trillions of coins right now. This could go even lower. So, there's a possibility of even grabbing another zero. If that happens, I would back the truck up and, get as much as you can at those prices, because, again, once it takes off, it may never come back there, and it could take off rather quickly.
Right. And just a note real quick, I pulled up Pulse Burn on my end. What it's saying is actually right on there. So it's saying 0.79x SAC. So 1 times 0.79 would be 0.79. So it's saying it's 79% of the SAC rate is what it's saying.
Yes. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So somebody in the chat, so there, we're right and you're wrong in the chat. Nah. The SAC rate would be 3 zeros and a 1. That's what it would be. So
yeah, it's not 4 zeros for both of them. Pulse was the same way.
Right. Yeah.
Because it was 1 per 10,000. So it is 3 zeros and a 1.
Yeah, so that's all they mean by that. But either way, I mean, Paul, we've seen good performance with both of these. And then, what do you think about actual Pulse itself? I mean, it's clearly been the stronger of the two so far. And I want to get into this topic here in a moment. The listing, obviously, of the Pulse token, PulseChain on it. I've never understood what this exchange is called. Is it OKX or
OKX? Yep.
Okay, because I see like OKEX sometimes. I don't know. We're gonna get to that in a second. But what do you make of what we've seen with the actual Pulse price so far? And what do you see for it here in the short term, anyway?
Well, that's another thing too. A lot of times when things get listed on major exchanges, they do take a dump as well. So this could be partially due to that. And because of the way things are bonded, it's bringing everything down, with it. It's all going to move together. If you look at some of these side-by-side comparisons of these charts, they all look the same. And it's because there's so much liquidity tying them all together. They're going to move in tandem. So it's pretty cool to see Hart's Law in full effect. You know what I mean?
Yes. And, for somebody who is in this ecosystem, let's face it, I mean, a lot of people that are into Hex are like into Hex, and it might be just Hex. You know what I mean? Because once you have heard Richard Hart's spiel and the way he feels about crypto and the products that he creates, and you see how great they've worked and everything, you don't want to go many other places. And I think we'll get into this in the bigger Pulse picture, but like this actually having a blockchain now, we already thought the whole thing was credible and liked Hex and everything, but an actual blockchain, you can already see, and we have been seeing so many of the dominoes falling down of, people capitulating in a good way into these Richard Hart creations. And
Yeah.
I think a blockchain, for whatever reason, I think it's stupid, but for whatever reason, that is going to make them look at it with credibility for some reason this time around. I mean, I think they already should have with Hex,
Yeah.
but whatever, if this is what it takes, because I think they're just addicted to, layer one blockchains. I'm not criticizing Pulse. I'm just saying that, like, I don't know why it would take this necessarily to do it, but yeah, it seems like it is. And go ahead, I'll let you talk on that.
Well, there was a lot of talk about a lot of these influencers having sponsors and the things that they are allowed to talk about and aren't allowed to talk about. And it's come out that Hex is one of those things that they aren't really allowed to talk about. It's been that gate kept where it's not even the influencers that want to talk about it. They're not allowed. I don't know what kind of contract they may have. But as time goes on, people will start to see through the lies that they've been telling and the things that they've been misleading their audiences, hopefully. And they'll see what's going on over here and how fun it is and what a cool, amazing community that we have. So, it just takes time. It takes time for all of this to happen, and then you get the classic Mike Alford tweet today about how Hex is going to zero where it belongs. So I would, again, we've tested that bottom price on the EHEX side. If you're a Hexican and that might be the best deal out there right now is EHEX. So you can tell a lot of people aren't staked as well. That's another thing. There's a lot of liquid happening. A lot of people were liquid going into the copy. So all of that stuff has to play out. It's just going to take a little bit of extra time for those coins to kind of settle, fall where they may. And then, we can kind of start our run up maybe another week or so until we find that floor for the PulseChain side of things. I think the EHEX has to be pretty close. Maybe we get down to a penny, maybe we get down to a penny and a half. I don't see it going too much lower though, because I still think there's a lot of support there. But I know there's people selling out of those coins to get over there when they don't really have to. They've lost faith in Ethereum. And the one cool thing when this launched, we saw the gas prices go way down. I saw them down in the 20s and 30s at one point, and I'm like, well, it worked. Cross scaling is or horizontal scaling is actually working. We freed up some of the pain points of Ethereum where the gas prices were so high, and now brought it back down. So that was pretty cool too.
I wanted to have a conversation about that, so let's go to that in a minute. I want to go into the OKX thing here, and you mentioned Mike Alfred, famous like perma bear about everything, waving his fist in the sky, and
he just hates Hex. He hates Hex.
Well, he hates he's been saying that Binance is going to be insolvent in a matter of weeks. He was saying that like 6 months ago and stuff like that. So he's one of those guys that likes to put like hot opinions out and stuff like that to get engagement. So
yeah, he's a Bitcoin maxi. He owns a mining company. It's the only thing he cares about. Everything else is garbage. So he's one of those guys.
Yeah. No, to each his own. And I with some of those guys like Michael Saylor too, and like Warren Buffett, as much as I completely disagree with their view to, like, right now on like where finance is, they don't need to buy, like Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger don't need to buy Bitcoin, let alone Hex. They're not going to do that.
Right.
People who have already made it are not going to look into other means. They're not going to try to find deep value stuff. It's just not the way they're going to do it. They're already where they are. So it's just your perspective. But So this Pulse listing on OKX. So yeah, was a big thing. Richard Hart was tweeting about it a lot. I've heard of OKX. Don't even know where it's located. Don't have an account there. Don't plan on getting an account there really. But he was tweeting about it, and it is good to have this on an exchange already. You mentioned that it is common for a token to kind of have a bit of a plunge like this after a listing, which has happened. It hasn't been that big of one really, but
No.
my overall question. Well, first we'll just focus on the exchange listing part of it, and then I want to get into why I think that credibility thing for Richard's products and PulseChain in particular will be so different this cycle. So overall, this early on in the game with PulseChain, getting that listing already on an exchange, albeit one that I don't even know where it would rank overall, but what do you make of it? I mean, what's your overall feelings on a listing already on an exchange?
So we knew that was coming. We knew that they were a big sacrificer for the whole thing in the early days. So Richard had kind of mentioned it. I don't know. I guess it was a year and a half ago, stating that they had sacrificed and they would be listing it as soon as it launched, pretty much. So yeah, it's exciting. We can't, as U.S. citizens not using a VPN, we can't use it here. So
right.
I don't know if you're aware of that or not. It's overseas.
That's what I mean. I didn't even know where it was. Yeah, I wasn't even sure.
I'm not sure where they're located either. I didn't look into it that much, but it is good, especially for when there was as much backed up on the bridge. Had that stayed that way, I think it would have done that exchange a bigger favor. But now that the bridge is pretty wide open and it only takes 15-20 minutes, there may not be a necessity for them. Many of the community that's here are already decentralized folks, so they're going to use the DeFi technology unless the fees are really that much cheaper to get into Pulse and then send it to your wallet that way.
Yeah. I've never heard of this place where this is. Is it pronounced Sakales or boy, I've never heard of this before. Maybe I'm just coming off like a dumbass live on air, but I've never heard of that in my entire life.
What are you talking? Where they're located?
Yeah, if this is a country, I've never even heard of it. And it doesn't say, it doesn't list any other country. Yeah, it doesn't list it. I guess that is a country. I did not know of it. Maybe I need to get better on my geography. And sorry about that. If anybody in the chat knows what that is, then let me know. But yeah, if you do a Google, it'll show you just if you look for their location. But yeah, don't accept U.S. users. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, for people that were stuck on the bridge, and this has been an epidemic so far, and it's been alleviated a bit. But people who did sack, again, we've said a million times, the most common sacker of either of these tokens was for PulseX, and they didn't have much pulse to be able to transact. Like most of them were just given one pulse, which if you did anything in the first couple of hours was probably enough. I remember I moved some stuff around and it was fraction of a pulse. But since then, yeah, there's been that problem. There is a pulse faucet that people have discovered multiple times. We talked about this too, but Hex people, just out of being genuine or generous and stuff like that, did send pulse and everything. So there's ways to accumulate it now, but that was a problem early on, and that liquidity to be able to get new users to use it. So it's definitely good. And I wonder, all right, so where I'm really going with this, and I sent this to you yesterday, we both saw it, but Sami tweeting out stuff. Your friend Sami on Twitter, if you somehow don't know him, phenomenal follow, phenomenal YouTube channel.
Yeah.
He tweeted, he always comes with the goods as far as like observing what mainstream shows are talking about and stuff, and shows like what is going on in the what he calls like the mid curve, like just average people who are doing getting average results, and Bankless obviously falls under that. Bankless podcast, if you don't know it, two guys that have all kinds of sponsorships, basically like most big crypto podcasts. back things that are not actually crypto or like make deals with exchanges. And I don't know anything specific they're involved in. I don't listen to them or anything like that. So I don't want to talk out of turn completely. But we're obviously telling the truth by saying that they shit on Hex frequently. They don't like Richard Hart. They actually applauded on their show and said thank you to the SEC for like sending notices of like inquiries to Hex users and stuff.
Right.
Like they thanked the SEC. So just to let you know who these people are, forget about Hex. They're thanking the SEC going, looking into like crypto stuff. These are people who don't even tell you what's a security, what's a commodity, and they don't care at all about providing any clarity.
Okay? And how ironic coming from someone that heavily promoted FTX and Celsius and BlockFi.
Yeah. Yes. More than anything in the world, it's just the greatest, like, it's the most insane contradiction, one of the most insane contradictions I've ever seen. Like all of these different channels, like them, that they're maybe the biggest one though. Altcoin Daily, which I won't shit on too much, even though I don't enjoy their content. But I did see like at the Bitcoin conference that Gary, Funding Jim, and some other Hex people were chatting it up with one of those dudes. I don't know.
Yeah,
they look exactly the same to me. I don't know which is which, but
yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah, but bankless mainly. Those are really the offenders here. And anyway, so my point is, Sami shared a tweet where in some, I don't know if it was Telegram, some chat, somebody said like, man, Pulse is pumping right now. Or just said something about PulseChain, like an innocent thing about PulseChain. It didn't seem like they were trolling or whatever.
Right.
And one of the admins from Bankless said the next person who mentions like Hex or PulseChain will
be blocked.
Yeah. Yeah. What is going on? Like at this stage of the game, what is your beef? I don't even understand it, but what do you think?
Well, the estrogen runs deep with those two. So it's just a bunch of hate. And again, it's a sponsorship. They I think a lot of it stems from the memes, the crying memes that the Hexicans got. I mean, they jumped all over that whenever dude broke into tears on stream about Richard Hart's tweet. He's like, hi, that's all he said. Yeah. He's like, so yeah, there's a lot of angst amongst them with us, and maybe rightfully so, but they deserve it. They deserve every bit of it. So yeah, I don't pay attention to those guys. In fact, I think I have them either blocked or muted as well. So I choose not to hear a lot of this stuff from these guys. When someone retweets it, I'll see it. But that's about it. I don't care what they have to say. They're just shilling reference link idiots as far as I'm concerned. That's all they do. They put out a show, they shill their reference link, they want you to trade, they want you to do all the things that you shouldn't be doing. And that's them.
It's a shame. It's a shame, but I guess it's also par for the course in anything with finance because, look at legacy finance. Okay. If you're going out like looking for money tips and stuff like that, like you're going to be led to, well, I guess maybe you'd be led to like Dave Ramsey early on, but and I'm not going to be critical of him necessarily because for the average, frankly, dumb person, I mean, it is going to be good advice, frankly, that they can handle. But, in terms of with finance, I mean, with anything, you're going to have people that, again, that mid-curve term, like the average people are going to tell you average things. They're not really going to reveal to you like what you actually have to do to succeed. And we're seeing the same thing in crypto. Like we're seeing the same thing where like the biggest shows, the biggest podcasts, the biggest reach. I'm still not. I really don't like what BitBoy has been doing even remotely lately. This whole launching his own name token and everything. And I know like within like great crypto communities, like in the Hex people and stuff like that, he won himself some favor having Richard on for a period of time. But I don't care about any of that. I just don't like. I've never liked his content. The portfolio he shares is definitely something to fade. And then this whole he's another one. He's a shiller, all about himself, constantly. He made a coin after his own name that's useless. Yeah. He's dumping it on people. It's just, I mean, it may even be. I'd probably want to hang out with him more than the Bankless boys, but yeah, not a fan. And it's just, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, like the stuff that people are going to be attracted to first is the worst entry points usually.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of BitBoy either. Like I said, I've watched some of his stuff only because Richard was on. But even Richard doesn't follow him. He's admitted that many times. Even they've gone to concerts together, they've hung out
I
and
saw
stuff.
you.
So yeah, I'm just again all the drama that was created with I thought there for a minute he was doing some good things trying to help the people
For a minute.
for a minute that lost their money on FTX when he went to the Bahamas and all that stuff. But the more it just played out, the more it was just for views, for clicks. He was
Yeah.
doing it for the clicks. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he cared much about the SPF thing.
No, I don't either. I think it was just a play to get as much views as possible.
Yeah, I agree. But more to the main point, like what I'm asking is, and I'm only mentioning Bankless and these guys because they are the big channels, and I'll throw Altcoin Daily in there too because at least Gary was able to talk to them down there. But this idea of PulseChain bringing more, again, quote unquote, credibility from other crypto people this cycle. I mean, I guess because it is a layer one blockchain and it's now a bigger whole ecosystem. It's not just Hex, which is, what Richard has always positioned it as a better Bitcoin, which I think it has obviously served to be.
Right.
Bitcoin was meant to be a means of payment. It's now clearly a store of value. Hex is a better version of that so far. But I guess my question is just because I'm curious, like, why do you think it took this to start to get him and all of these products more credibility? Do you think it will only get bigger in the bull market because of what we're seeing with PulseChain? I mean, I think I know the answer to that, but and then when will these final people, Bankless, maybe we just have to throw them in the trash and they never will because of the reasons you stated about being paid shillers and stuff like that.
Yep.
But what will get these final people that I don't even know what the beef could be anymore? Like on a personal level, it's like, well, forget Richard, like look at these products. People want them,
Yeah.
So, yeah, what do you think? Like, why is this going to give it more credibility? Do you think than just Hex, and how will it get? I guess.
Well, it's a whole ecosystem. Once things start to develop, I've seen a couple people say, "Yeah, but the only volume is PulseX. That's your exchange. That's it. That's the only thing driving it." And I'm like, "Yes, but look at the numbers. Look at how it jumped to the number 3 blockchain, or number 2, until Binance created a bunch of fake volume,
right?
just to pass us back up, to put us back into third.
Yeah.
So yeah, wait till all these platforms like Liquid Loans and Power City and Fiat and Famous and all of those different things that are about to take. I mean, there's so many more that haven't even come out yet. So it's going to be nuts. So look out. Yeah, I mean, it's going to solidify its validity here as soon as all this stuff starts to take off. It's not going to be just the chain that Richard built to support another Hex or to give people a bunch of free coins or and then what happens when those communities see what's going on and they come over and they start playing with their free tokens that they got, adding some liquidity, and who knows, it's going to take a little time. It's going to take several months probably, but the timing couldn't be any better. We're pretty much at the bottom of the markets now. It's only going to get better from here. We got a little bit of a head start, I think, on the bull market. So yeah, I mean, it's the walls are going to come down. The walls are going to come down this cycle, and we're going to see, those crazy predictions that we may be talking about here shortly. So
Yeah. I think you're right. It's just going to be interesting to see. It's in layers and it goes slow. But
yeah,
we've seen Ivan on Tech is a guy obviously who's been open to it for quite some time and
yeah.
really seems to get it. But I mean,
And who cares about the other guys? Who cares? Who cares?
Yeah,
let them drown their audience. They'll see it eventually, and they'll all leave. Most of their audience anyway is paid. They bought subscriptions. You
Yeah.
see how many people that are in Hex that ratio all their posts. It's like they're
Oh
not real
man,
people.
it's so great. Yeah.
It happens all the time. All Coin Daily, especially. Hexo, he
He owns
ratios.
them.
Yeah, he does,
Yeah.
and they finally started to talk about it. So,
Yeah, I heard I heard they led the show. I'm sure it wasn't for very long, but they led the show talking about PulseChain launch the
yeah,
other day.
yep.
Huh.
So they
I should actually find that.
finally read the room and said, "Hey, something going on here that's pretty exciting." So
That's the funny thing. Like Hex was crazy enough with people just acting like it didn't exist on those channels. This, I don't know if they're going to be able to deny in good
no, they can't hide it.
conscience. You know?
They can't.
Yeah,
They can't hide
yeah.
it.
And you're right. I don't really care. It's just on like an approval level. Like I'm going to be involved in it either way. It's just fascinating to me. Like just the
Hmm.
psychology of what when these people will capitulate. But yeah, certainly the listing on OKX is a good thing this early on, and we'll continue to look. What do we got from Pearl
Pearl
here?
asks, "Can you guys see any negatives with all the projects to come on to PulseChain? Negatives are also important." Um, no, we
Well,
need. I mean,
go ahead, but
well, yeah, there are some negatives because there's going to be rug pulls. That's going to be the negative. I
yeah,
think people still got to be extremely careful where they're putting their money. Even if it's a liquidity pair, even if you're trying to pair liquidity, you've got to make sure you're putting it in the right place. I saw people that were pairing a fake wrapped Bitcoin, and all their money got rug pulled. They lost everything that they had put in there. The value went to zero immediately. Um, that's going to be one of the negatives. Just being careful of what's going on. The shiny object syndrome, where you might sell one thing to buy another new thing. That's a negative. Just yes, there are negatives, but if we want this ecosystem to thrive, and Pulse to do what it needs to do, um, yes, we're going to need new projects to come into play. It's just a matter of filtering through them and, clearing out the scammers.
yeah,
So,
and that's not unique to Pulse, obviously. I mean, like all these blockchains are going to
sure.
have crap built on them that are rug pulls. So it's up to you to just do your due diligence. Like as much as everybody would like to do this, and maybe a resource can be created for it eventually, it's going to be hard for somebody to just kind of point out everything that's clearly like a scam or a rug pull to somebody right away. It's just
Yeah.
mistakes are going to be made. And you just have to watch out for them. But you can't
And we
really
need to talk about this real quick.
go ahead.
People, do not give your seed phrase out. There are people that are saying, here, email this email address and we'll give you support. Don't do it. Don't do it. Do not give that seed words to anybody. It's super important. We've been talking about it a lot in previous videos. We kind of stray away from it, but we've always got to touch base on that again. Is your secret secret? What, I guess I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Keep those to yourself.
Yes.
Do not give them to anybody. Do not put them into a website. Your funds will disappear. They'll be gone. It happens quicker than you can blink. So yeah, just keep those to yourself. Please do not fall for anyone asking you to verify your address or anything like that, by asking for those seed words. So
And as much as that might seem like old hat or like no duh to people watching and stuff like that, we are this year and especially next year going to start to get all these new people into this market. That's just the way the cycle goes. There's going to be tons of new volume, tons of retail and everything coming into PulseChain and coming into, I mean, a lot of things, but I think almost primarily PulseChain. So, I mean, we're going to see that. Those people are definitely going to have to learn that because that is really the whole ethos of this ecosystem. I think, it should be with anything in crypto, but I think even more so with these products. So, I want to transition into the Moon Boy stuff. So if you are here and you are enjoying the show, we do this every single Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hit the like. We very much appreciate it. Sub to the channel. The channel is Creed of Crypto. We have a podcast form of this as well as the live stream. Well, we're going to get to what Imal Nuri is talking about right now, really highest breakout potential, EHEX, PulseX.
That's why I put it up there. Yeah.
Perfect. We're going to talk about it all. So she, they talked about EHEX there. So I think are going to talk about HEX basically as what we've talked about it in the past when we talk about price targets or what the performance could be as we get into this bull cycle, which Ewok, finally, I did have to twist his arm for a few months, but a while ago, he said that we are in a new cycle. So I think obviously Richard agrees. Everybody seems to agree now with PulseChain out. That doesn't mean we're in bullish times quite yet, though. We're in, more positive than 2022, of course. So we're in the next 4-year cycle. But what we're talking about here is this next bull cycle that I think is probably going to last for deep into 2025. Ewok actually has said shorter than that. Regardless of that, though, we think that obviously PulseX, HEX are the biggest opportunities there are in that cycle. But when we talk about HEX, we're usually going to talk about it as the price total. I should say this with the price that each one of them are going to be together, assuming parity, EHEX and PHEX roughly the same price where it's going. So I guess we can start there. And I think it might surprise people, like, because HEX is the quote unquote old version of this ecosystem or the old player in this ecosystem that people are, EHEX is selling off, people are getting out of it and stuff like that. It's retesting itself, bear market lows. But remember, with parity here, we're really at like over 4 cents or so, 4 cents total.
Right. You got to add them together.
Yes. So yeah, anybody, if you got copies, you're actually you're probably up from where you had been, or equal anyway to where you were a little before it. But so yeah, Ewok, I think people are really underrating right now the potential of just HEX, and the price that it's at right now. Everybody's looking at Pulse and PulseX, which, I want to grab them too. Obviously, they're talk about shiny new toy syndrome, obviously. Yep. But I think people are just HEX is under 2 cents on Ethereum. And I think that's crazy. So let's go to you. Let's talk in ranges. We've done most bearish case, most bullish case before, but give me a narrow range that it would be your most anticipated range HEX could get to as a high in this bull cycle.
I do believe that we will see about $1.50. Mm-hmm. I really do. So we're talking $3 together. Yeah. I think once things start to take off, I mean, right now you're seeing a major sale, I should say, on T-shares. Right. And people just they're losing track. They're losing sight of why HEX was created in the first place. Mm-hmm. And I think it was because we told a lot of people to buy HEX for PulseChain. So we've got to let all that play out. All these people that just bought it just to have it so that they could transact over there. That's what you're seeing right now. I think that's what you're seeing shake out. But once we do find that floor and it starts to take off, there isn't a whole lot for sale. There really isn't. And because of the way the liquidity is bonded together, I see it, on the pairs. There's, what was it? $200 million or something like that. I'm actually going to look it up because it is kind of important to our conversation here.
While you are doing that real quick, I actually feel like I'm probably even a little bit more aggressive than you. I think I'm within the same range, but I think more toward the $2 mark is. I think that'll happen here because 150 obviously is going to be a big psychological point as is $2. But yeah, I think between 150 and $2 is a pretty solid bet, honestly. And same thing. That's on both.
So all my prices are the low end because I don't want to overdo my moon pants or anything like that. But yeah, there's $61 million in liquidity tying the two of these together. Yeah. That's pretty strong.
Yes, so. It's pretty strong. And I agree with your point 100% about these being like more conservative projections. And it's not just about like we're not telling any audience what to do. I mean, any of the stuff you buy is solely up to you. Looks like I lost Ewok. Yeah.
I'm
He's
back.
coming
Sorry.
back. That's fine. But yeah, so with I forget where I was going with this.
Sorry.
So no, with us talking about like conservative projections for these prices, it's not just, not wanting to overexcite the audience or something like that. It's also for ourselves. Like, you don't want to have that lottery. We've talked about this so many times, but that lottery ticket mentality, thinking, oh yeah, like Pulse is going to do 1,000x this cycle, and Pulse X is going to do 1,000x, or a 10,000x this very cycle, and all this, because then you will just be like, I'm going to throw in $1,000 and become a millionaire, and that's just number one, very unlikely, and because you probably won't even hold that long anyway,
Right.
and also just dumb to just even expect that. So I like to, just like you, Ewok, not only to rein in my excitement, rein in other people's excitement, but to make sure I responsibly put the amount of money I'm comfortable putting into the market to get those returns, and like ensure that I get the returns. Like,
Right.
know that I was aggressive enough right now. I won't say it on air, but you and I were talking earlier today, and I took an aggressive-ish action earlier today to try to make sure that I get where we're at right now at these prices,
Yep.
and really remembering to zoom out, because, I did this, and I know you did too, all throughout the bear market. I specifically remember the day that FTX went down, and I remember like how it felt like crypto was just dying that day.
Yeah.
And I just remember asking myself, like, I should be buying stuff today. Like, I just absolutely should be buying stuff today. And that's where I think people, the longer you're in crypto and the more cycles you're in, you get in tune with that. You start to realize, like, yeah, man, if I zoom out right now, this is crazy, this opportunity I may have right here. And that's how I feel right now with these tokens right now, with where they are. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm not, I want to kind of touch this on Pearl. I had my ERCs in my hardware wallet and didn't receive copies. I don't. You may have to. So your hardware wallet may not be recognizing PulseChain.
That's a good point. Yeah.
You may have to update the firmware in it for it to understand it. Give it some time, but if you had it in your hardware wallet, that means you own the seed phrase. So I'm sure they're there. It's just a matter of doing an update to your hardware wallet, or reaching out to somebody that is really good with them, that you know and trust, not just anybody online. Please don't do that. But I think there's I forget which room in the Telegram, the security room in Telegram for it. If I can find it, I will look it up and I'll share it with you. But yeah, if you had it in your hardware wallet, you did receive copies. It's just a matter of your hardware wallet not either being updated to understand or see PulseChain yet, or there's something else going on. But I'm sure they're there.
What you may have to do, and I don't know what, you don't even have to tell me. I'm not asking you to do this, Pearl, but whatever your hardware wallet is, and they didn't really specify this, but I mean, some of them don't even have the ability to look at PulseChain on there. You may need to use it as a backend onto MetaMask. Like, you may have to link your hardware wallet to your MetaMask, and all that is. Yeah, people call it like I've heard it referred to as a condom, like basically a way where
it's a front end. Yeah.
Like, you can use MetaMask and you link it up. You can import your hardware wallet to MetaMask, and it gives you kind of that extra SIG, I guess, on MetaMask by the. Now, remember, when you do that, if you do a transaction, you'll have to approve it on your. I've never used a Ledger, but like a Ledger or a Trezor, you'll have to actually approve it on your device.
Right.
But you're using MetaMask. You create the PulseChain RPC on MetaMask, and you'll still be able to access whatever on your hardware wallet. So,
yep. Basically, use MetaMask as your front end for your hardware wallet. You just import it into there, and you should be fine.
Yeah. Cool. All right, thanks, Pearl. So yeah, let's get to Pulse now. So let's go to the granddaddy of them all. Let's go to Pulse. What do you think, Ewok? What's your kind of range for now? We won't necessarily say a price. I don't know, but what amount of X's do you think we see with Pulse from? And we're going to go by from SAC rate, obviously.
Oh, I'll give a price. I think we could hit a penny. I think we could hit a penny.
Whoa!
This cycle. I think
So
that's
is that 1,000? That would be
that's
1,000
X. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
at least a half
impressive.
a penny. At least a half a penny.
I think we'll be fine if that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, boy, that I was going nowhere near there, but I would be denying it if I didn't say I think it is definitely a possibility. I'm certainly not preparing for it like at all. I haven't even let that enter my mind as a possibility, really. But with a unique opportunity, because that's what people forget. Like, we're a few weeks into this, or a couple weeks into this now, not even. So some people may forget that, like, this was a fair launch where people received valueless tokens for sacrificing and getting rid of other tokens, a year and a half to 2 years ago.
Right.
So it is different. This isn't like there was investors and VCs in a seed round, and by the time this thing hit the market for the public, it's already up a 500x or something like that.
Right.
And that's how many of these go. That's why when the SAC stuff was going on and all this stuff over the last couple of years and people telling you to buy HEX to get the copy and everything, it's like, you may never see this again in your existence in crypto. And that's I think that's definitely true. I'm not going to go anywhere near as aggressive as you. I actually, just as a guess, I would say something like a 250x anyway. But we could really run. I mean, like, you know how things get at the top of a bull cycle, and I think for these kind of tokens, there will be no end in sight. I mean, it'll just green candles to the heavens for a while. So, I'm going like uber conservative on Pulse, I guess. But you make a good point that we walk, because it is going to be Pulse and PulseX's first cycle. And he timed these launches perfectly, which
exactly.
Surprise, surprise.
The amount of coins that are being burned. It just really adds a lot of interesting tokenomics to it. Especially PulseX. I know there's the validators that are being run that are burning tokens. Once those validators numbers pick up, which they are doing, it's crazy to see the new validators coming online. I don't think all of them will burn coins, but there will still be a slow burn and trickle of supply that gets burned as the validators put it back to the burn address.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So good segue into PulseX. So if you could talk about that buy and burn feature a little bit and why it does make PulseX so unique and more powerful than other dexes like a Uniswap or something like that in terms of the value of the token, because a Uniswap token really is just another like governance token. It's not really anything other than that. So
it's just a duct tape token that doesn't do anything. I don't think it does anything. You can't vote with it. You can't do anything with it.
I think you technically can vote with it, but it's like, they don't listen to you, and who cares anyway? So,
and in order to not, I don't think very many people have that much supply where the vote actually matters. So that's the problem. You have to, the issuers have all of the voting power, so it really doesn't do anything. It's not like a DAI or a DAO to where your smaller vote matters. You don't hold enough weight. But to answer your question, the significance of PulseX. Every time a trade is made, there's a fee. A portion of that fee gets sent back to the contract where it buys more PulseX. Then it burns it. So it's not just a burn function. It is a buy first and then burn. So it's raising the buying pressure of the coin, and then it burns it out of supply. So it's a constant buy pressure. Oops, we're going the wrong way. This way, buy pressure up and to the right, where as it buys and burns, it takes it out of supply and increases the value at the same time. So I forget what the volume was at one point. You know what we were doing. Oh, I can probably see it on here. No, can't see it. Well, there's $33 million worth of volume. I think at that level, whatever the percentage is, we've burned 59 billion coins, but those coins that have been burned have been bought. So it's adding to the buy pressure and the chart, which kind of holds it up there. So, this 20% that we're down right now could be a lot more dramatic if it weren't for the buy and burn feature.
Right.
So
Yeah. And it's going to help the price. I think it's going to help the price as well. Yeah, with quicker recovery like that as well, too, thinking in that direction. So
yeah, and then when things take off, that volume is going to just skyrocket it even further. So when we do get green candles galore, they're going to be over exaggerated because of that as well.
Exactly. So speaking of the green candles, where do you think PulseX goes? I mean, are you even more bullish on that than your Pulse take? Which would surprise me as well, but maybe you're full of surprises tonight. I don't know.
I'm full of surprises, but no, I don't think so. I think we could hit 1/100th of a tenth of a penny, though. Maybe 3/10ths of a penny. Again, I think it still holds that ratio of about 3-to-1, right? So if that's the case and Pulse does get to a penny, then I could easily see PulseX getting to a third of a penny each.
Right. So like a
0.003.
yeah, so like a 300x basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Is right, yeah. So yeah, that's more in line. It's still more aggressive than I would say and want to plan for. But again, it's one of those things where like the last bits of a bull cycle, absolutely crazy things happen and stuff can really
Oh
run,
yeah.
you know. So yeah, I'm not, I wouldn't roll out any of this stuff. I just am not going to project for it because I was thinking more like in the 100x range, which isn't really that far off of what you're saying, I guess. Well, it is 3 times less, but it still shows that if you are aggressive right now, the most conservative projections, like what we would consider a disappointment, I guess you would say, if you're aggressive enough, would still be absolutely crazy and outperform most of crypto right now, over this bull cycle. So,
yeah.
Clifton Lewis, that's a name I recognize from the past. Clifton,
Uh-huh.
what's he got going on here?
Greeting, gents and chat. Gotta say, there's so many moving parts to the situation. It's easy for people to get FUD and make bad moves. You got that right, Clifton.
Yeah.
A lot of people take their eye off the prize. They make bad decisions. The one saving grace in Hex that we had that helped the price go up so much, that 10,000x that we did, was the staking feature. People locked their coins up; they couldn't touch them. We don't have that yet in Pulse or PulseX, but there is supposed to be single-sided staking coming to PulseX. It's one of the things that was on the test net. So again, it takes a little bit of pressure off. However, you're not locked up with a penalty like you were in Hex. So you can lock and unlock them. So yeah, but either way, you're right. People do just make bad decisions all the time. Every day of their life, usually they make a bad decision or two. Not to say that crypto is any different. So yeah, and when there's this many moving parts and people think they're smarter than the other guy sitting across the screen, it usually doesn't always work out very well for people. So yeah, they make bad moves a lot.
There's a lot to do. I mean, there's a lot on PulseX to get into and a lot to do. And like, even this isn't the most colossal mistake, but a lot of people out there are just, because these prices are fluctuating so much right now, constantly rotating from Pulse back into PulseX, back into Pulse, maybe into Hex or something like that. And you don't want to do that either, because like, while that may not be wrecking yourself as badly as like, getting in on a rug pull or something, I mean, you could just be, number one, you're paying fees. Not that it's that much money right now, but you're just continuously, you're likely just losing your bag on each transaction, and behind the actual move. So
Yeah.
we've talked about this already before and talking about a portfolio for this ecosystem, but that's why I just want to own them all. You don't have to necessarily own them all equally, but I just want to have everything. And maybe if things get significant, you can rotate them. Like Pulse has been, it's funny to say this because PulseX is below SAC price, but Pulse has been more the thing to buy lately, I think, because that ratio of those two has gotten tight. I mean, even though PulseX is I mean, everything's down now, but it's been almost 1-2 lately.
Yeah.
Or 1 to 2.5. The highest we've seen that ratio is 1-4. Now, contrastly, if you ever saw like a 1 to 7 or something like that, which may never happen, but if you did, that would be like, I may want to rotate some Pulse into PulseX because it's really starting to get away from you.
Yeah, and then when that ratio closes back down, which we know it will because of the bonded liquidity, will bring it back together. There's going to be opportunities for some of these little ratios that get out of whack to take advantage of. Once it gets back together, then you could get back out and have more than you had before of both things. So yeah. I mean, there are going to be opportunities. You just really have to pay attention to what they are, and factor in the fees too while you're doing it. Don't forget that.
For sure. We are getting late into the show, and we had some other really good stuff to cover that we are going to cover still some of. I just think we might have to push a couple of them that are the lesser interesting ones. But if you guys are still here and enjoying the show, we're about to talk about a very good opportunity that Ewok's been just smashing so far within the PulseChain ecosystem. So hit the like. We appreciate you guys watching. The channel is Creed of Crypto. Subscribe to the channel. We appreciate you checking us out. And we do this every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's talk about this incentive token, Ewok. You've been all over this. You've been just sitting back, doing nothing, and earning money all day, more than many people's job might pay them in a day.
More than my job pays me in a day.
I didn't want to call you out or anything, but yeah.
Well, it's true. I'll call it out.
Yeah. So tell me what your experience has been so far. There's a lot to cover here. So by the time we're done with this, we may need to push the other stuff to next week. But tell me how your game theory has been, what liquidity you're providing, what you're doing, everything about this incentive token, because there's a lot of people out there that are mainly just focusing on like buying these big 3 tokens right now, or 4 tokens, and totally respect that, totally understand it. So tell me about your experience here with the incentive token.
So the first thing I paired that I could pair was Pulse and PulseX. I hit it right about that 1-3 ratio is when I injected my liquidity, and it started paying out pretty well. Nothing crazy. I think it was maybe like 100% APR or something like that, which is good. But when I say nothing crazy, some of these other ones are like 900 to 1,000 APR if you're watching. But those ones that are very high have a very high risk of impermanent loss. So you need to, if you don't know what impermanent loss is, we're not going to cover it tonight. But you need to look it up and look into it before you do any of these moves. So once I did that, I saw what the power of the incentive token was. I think it started at like $8 or $9. And it went all the way up to 70 or 80 here just as of a couple of days ago. I think we fell back down into it's $48 right now. But then once the bridge became available, I realized that we really wanted the hexes to stay tied together. So I waited for as long as I could, which wasn't quite long enough, but the ratio I think was 1.09 or something like that when I put both sides of hex in. And the reason I'm not worried about impermanent loss on that one is because as it fluctuates, I'll just end up with more hex on one side or the other. I'm not going to lose value. And if they're tied together close enough, it's not going to matter too much to me which side they're on, because I still like both X's.
Yeah.
But I was earning, I don't even know if I should say, but
I mean, I wouldn't, but it's up to you.
yeah. So I was earning enough incentive tokens to what I did was I divided it into um, five. I took 20% of what I was earning, and I bought 20% went back into Pulse, 20% went back into PulseX, 20% went into Hex, and 20% went back into EHEX. And I kept 20% of the incentive token just to keep them because I saw the value going up. So that was my strategy. I don't know. Again, it's just that's what I did. And it's been working out well. Every couple days that I harvest, I do that, and I make a couple buys. I get more of the tokens. I should have done it earlier today when it was upwards of 79 or 70 whatever dollars before it dropped. It dropped pretty heavily today. So now I'll just hold them until they get a little bit more valuable. But that incentive token has some interesting game theory to it. I don't know if you know this or not, but right now there's about 3 incentive tokens created per second, right? Um, After a year, there's a halvening. So after a year, there will only be 1.5 created per second. And then after another year, it goes down to 0.75. So these are going to get harder to get as time goes on. Now, also the APR percentages have come down considerably too. Not so much because they've come down, but more people have entered these pools. So you're getting less of the pie. But still, it's a nice return on some of these pairs that, like I said, really don't matter to me which coin I get more of. Now, I would never take one and pair it with USDC. It's just not my play. I know a lot of people do it. A lot of people that don't care if they end up with dollars and less of the other token. You do get paid a higher APR, which means you can reinvest that incentive into that coin that you're getting less of. So it may even out the play, but I'm just not. It's a little too risky for my liking. So, but yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, and like you said, there is a lot of game theory and a lot of ways to go about it, and that the impermanent loss thing is definitely something that people have to educate themselves on, because there's different types of liquidity providing, different types of yield farming and things like that, but you have to know what your potential loss is. Some of them are so insignificant that it totally doesn't matter, and you should definitely just try to earn this incentive token, but you just have to basically find out at the end of the day if you're likely going to be up. Like there might be a price you're going to have to pay with impermanent loss, but you're still earning something anyway, at the end of the day with a lot of these. So it's just up to you. And, if you want to, this is the nature of like the throes of prices being down. People want to find a way to earn more interest on their money. And, that can be a very powerful thing in crypto, because when prices are depressed like this, and like you said, Ewok, I mean, you're just churning out these incentive tokens and stuff every single day to be able to just then repontificate or put back into the market, where you want to. So it's a powerful thing.
It is a powerful thing. And it helps the price, because you're not dumping it. You're not dumping it for USD. You're swapping it for another token, which does hold the value of that incentive token up. What's killing it is the people that are getting it and then just dumping it for US dollars. We could see this token go up if people were just taking it and reinvesting it into some of these other things. But for those of you who are just getting it to dump it, you do what you want with. They're your coins. I don't care. But I am just making a point that if you reinvested them into the other tokens, the price would stay a lot more steady and probably continue to rise.
Yeah. Be best overall for the system. So,
yeah.
Definitely good stuff, and it has been the incentive token, and we've seen a lot of this on Twitter. It really has been kind of the dark horse of this ecosystem so far. There's been a lot of exciting things. I think it's one of the things that people were sleeping on a bit and not thinking as much about. It's made a lot of headlines, I think. So,
Yep.
we had 3 other things written down that I think are all mildly important anyway, and we do want to cover. If you wanted to pick one of them, Ewok, so you had mentioned to me, so and actually I think this is probably the most important. So you were talking about the Hex front end, go.hex.com, and an
Yeah.
easy way to switch back and forth between Ethereum and Pulse networks. And that's a big thing. I'll be honest, like I haven't really done much mining or setting up of new or anything like that lately. So I haven't really been even messing around on there. But yeah, do you want to? I don't want you to dox a wallet or anything, but do you want to tell people? Go ahead.
I have one, and that's not doxable.
Oh, okay, cool.
So here's the trick, and I'm gonna I don't know what network I'm on, probably Pulse. So I'm on PulseChain now. I'm gonna switch back to Ethereum. Okay. So a lot of people, I think, have their stake tab as their bookmark. This. So that's probably mistake number 1. You should bookmark just go.hex.com and go to the stake. So I'm going to show you what's going to happen here. So this is trying to read from this wallet that there's nothing in it, but it's reading. So
it was, I will say, not to interrupt you, it was doing, I lied. I was on here the other day. It was doing this to me even when the wallet was connected and like everything was fine. I don't know why it's happening now, but that used to be the symbol that it was loading, but it was just permanently doing that. I don't know.
Well, it takes a while because so Richard even said a week or 2 ago that the stakes are now loading natively instead of from their I forget what it was. They had a repository of them somewhere that it was able to pull much faster. Well, now it's actually reading from the blockchain. So it does take a little bit more time. And the more stakes that you have, the longer it's going to take. So be patient as this loads. Now watch what happens when I change it to PulseChain from this stake tab. It says it's not available on PulseChain network. So here's the fix. You're going to click the hex icon. Okay. You're going to reload the page. And now it understands that it's on Hex on PulseChain. Then you go to your stake tab and it will read from there. So it's a quick fix, but the easier fix, I believe, is just change your bookmark to go.hex.com, not the go.hex.com/stake. So that should help you guys. When you're on the main page, it understands and you don't have to. See, I'm on Pulse now. Change to Ethereum. Now it's on Ethereum. Now I change back. Now it's on Pulse. So it knows. It has the auto refresh or auto clear your cache out from the main page, but it does not from the stake tab. And I think that's what's causing a lot of the problems. So keep that in mind. I hope it helps somebody. That was having issues trying to use go.hex.com to check on their stakes. I also heard somebody say something about they ended a stake on Ethereum and they said it ended the stake on PulseChain too. And I said, you're absolutely crazy. That is not possible. It didn't happen. Make sure that you're clearing your cache out. It's still having a little bit of issues. I think they're working through it, but it's not high on their priority list. But again, if you have to use the Icosa app.icosa, whatever it is, I forget. .pro maybe.
Pro, I think.
Yeah. App.icosa.pro. That will flip back and forth pretty well. So,
and did you see Richard? I don't know what word to use, endorse or whatever, but did you see him tweet the other day? He just said some people use that.
Yes, he did. He did
basically, and in so many words, forwarding people there if they were having issues on the Hex front end. So that man, if you're Alex McWhorter, how great of a feeling is that?
Yeah, it's a nice little pat on the back, isn't it?
Heck
Yeah, I mean, Alex is awesome. Alex does great
Mhm.
work, and he, there's still new stuff they're talking about. I don't know if you've been in the back.
Rocket pool. I know. I think that's been talked
Mm,
about. Some kind of rocket pool type thing.
there's just some things being created from a couple different creators putting their mind together, so it should be pretty cool. I don't know a whole lot about it, so I don't really want to speak on it, but
I hear you. Yeah. But yeah. So it sounds like really that thing with go.hex.com. That the issue is, and I don't actually have the stake tab bookmarked, but yeah, I mean, I have it as one, but I usually just go to the front end first.
yeah,
The front end working, if you just start with that, is because it's going to take you to like the Uniswap. It kind of has like the Uniswap front end built in, and it'll just connect your wallet to what and be default on whatever network you're on. So, oh, cool. So Clifton was having that issue, it sounds like.
yep,
So, yeah, there you
cool.
go, Ewok. You read people's minds. Um,
Mr. Chinks, thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Smash the
Yeah,
like if you enjoyed the stream. Again, we do this every single Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will. We had a couple of topics left that are kind of more evergreen, not necessarily immediate relevant, and they're both tax related. So I know that's usually people's favorite topic.
yeah,
So
we
I'll
can
just kind
wait
of
to talk about those.
one is just when will Coinly be adding PulseChain support, which I know Ewok tweeted at them the other day, and
Yeah,
we both
I
love Coinly for tax prep.
and I
Yeah,
got a response. So
I
here's
know.
what you got to do: go to my Twitter, find the tweet I gave the link, and just you do have to sign in, unfortunately, but use a burner email. Sign in and upvote the add pulse chain support. There's a link there. All
Yep.
you got to do is just upvote it so that it goes higher on the developers list of things to do. Much appreciated. I know a lot of people use that, even if it's not for taxes and it's just to keep track of your transactions. It does a really good job. So we
Mhm.
would really like to have it added to Coinly. I know there's a lot of people that do use it for taxes, so
And
we
it
we
is,
appreciate it.
we've endorsed and love Coinly and have talked about it so much, not because they're not reaching out to us to shill it or anything, but it is. Well, crypto is so difficult to do taxes for. I would be lost without it. I mean, it makes it unbelievably easy.
Yeah,
It's
for
just like
sure.
these other apps. You just connect your wallet and it imports the data. That's it.
Yep.
And then speaking of your wallets, MetaMask also, we have a tax update that nobody is going to like. That's going to be something that's more long term. So, and there's some angles to it. So I think it'd be best to push that to next week here because I
Yeah.
do want to get off the air and buy PulseX right now. So,
All right. Sounds
anyway.
good.
Anyway, so anything else you want to add here as we round off the night on another great PulseChain episode here, you walk?
Nope, I don't believe so. Yeah, man, just pay attention to the ratios, pay attention to what's going on. Get some good buys and just hold on to it. Don't make any crazy moves.
Yeah. Yeah. Just hold on tight. These dips are tough. But remember, this shit just launched. I mean, it's still only 12 days in. Like,
Yeah.
these are the dips when you should be licking your chops, which I am. And Ewok just keeps talking while I'm trying to get off the air and I want to go buy some PulseX. So,
All right.
just messing. I just messed with it. But,
Outro.
so yeah, guys, we do it again every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will catch you next week for my friend Crypto Ewok. This has been Broke Boi Crypto right here on the Creed of Crypto podcast.